This podcast is dedicated to sharing the practice of meditation, the philosophy of Western Buddhism, and the refuge and love of our TBC Sangha. Offering solutions that are simple, practical, and true. We believe happiness and better health are available to all people and for all people. We are here each week to lend wisdom and support to all who are making or considering making this journey. This is On the Range. Hello and welcome. This is episode number 6 of All on the Range. This is your fairly trusty host, Whit, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy to welcome back our co-host this week, Mr. Victor Dougherty. Victor is the director of Temple Buddhist Center. He is kind, he is wise, and most importantly, he is agreeable to being on this show. Welcome, Victor. How are you?
Hi, Whit. Thank you again so much for having me. And again, I appreciate what you are doing for our community and really for the world as people can, tune in and listen and hear about things going on at Temple Buddhist Center and teachings that are coming out, that are very germane and applicable to people's lives everywhere, whether they're a practicing Buddhist or not. It's just good stuff.
Appreciate that. I wanted to touch before we get into kind of the guts of the show. You are the director. Is that the right title? Director?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yes. Yes, I'm the director of Temple Buddhist Center. That's correct.
Yeah, I didn't know. You don't strike me as being a grand poobah type guy, but I didn't know if it was executive director or president.
Right.
So Buddhists are not particularly well known for being super organized, but I just wanted to comment and maybe get your insight on, you lead with such wisdom, but I think more importantly with such kindness. People come in, they don't really know what they're getting into. Western Buddhism is so open and inviting to everyone, and you not only make that clear, but you're so authentic with this, with the wisdom and with the kindness. How'd you get here, do you think?
Well, I think really the foundation of my leadership here at TBC is really based on the fact that, number one, I didn't ask for this, right? I wasn't seeking to find a small Buddhist community to lead. Temple Buddhist Center has always been my Sangha. And, a few, as some folks might read in my bio on the website, about 8 years ago, the Sangha was in a tremendous decline, and I was actually very busy with my career and was practicing with my teacher, but not really with the Sangha. I was working with my teacher, but not really the Temple Buddhist Center Sangha. So 8 years ago, I happened to be near the temple and doing some things, and some members of the community and the senior minister at the church where the Temple Buddhist Center is housed brought me in and said, hey, we want to go in a new direction with the new director, and we think you're the man for the job. And I was blown away. And so the point that I'm trying to make is that, number one, I wasn't seeking it. It was gifted to me. Number two, I realized that there is no way to pay for these teachings. If somebody offers you a enlightenment kit for $19.95 plus a free set of Ginsu knives, don't do it, because if there's a quid pro quo there, then it's not really the Dharma. It's more of a marketing kind of a thing, because the teachings are priceless. And so coming back to your question, the foundation of why I'm here is not to make money. It's not an ambitious thing to have the greatest Sangha that ever lived. It is simply because these teachings really saved my life, to be honest with you, and turned everything around for me. And the only way that I could ever repay my teachers and the teachings is to simply carry them on. That's it, and so the proliferation of the teachings, because I know that these help people in just so many ways. And so, once our heart flowers and blossoms, you really have, you could not do otherwise but to be of service to people. And so I think with that as a foundation, we're experiencing effortless efforting in our growth, and this is of course one of the eightfold noble path, wise effort. I'm sorry, the noble eightfold path. It's wise effort, and so that comes when your intention and your heart are in the right place, and everything it just shows up. It's amazing.
So that was my trap question for you. And I like to, well, I don't particularly like to trap people, but in this instance, I think it's important when, maybe people haven't listened to the episode before, maybe they don't know anything about TBC or you or Western Buddhism or any of this, but I think it's important that they understand that there's some enthusiasm certainly here, but it's all based on the fact that this is true, this is authentic. Yeah. It is first and foremost, it is kind. And all those things support each other, and they all grow as you go through. And as you just said, it appears to be effortless, but it also constantly seems to be evolving and growing. And it's amazing. That's been my experience. Again, I didn't really mean to trap you, but I think it's so interesting when you speak on that subject, just the enthusiasm. And you and I joked when I first started coming that, as a cult, it's not as cultish as we'd hoped. But again, we get that enthusiasm, and it's wise and it's loving, and it's really what people are looking for, even if initially they don't know it. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Well, and you even touch on, there is a little bit of a timing issue here, right? In other words, when there are multitudes of articles coming out about how people are leaving religion in droves, and this is, I know this to be true. It's not something I just read. Just here in Kansas City alone, there are so many churches for sale. And I have a lot of minister friends, and they're saying that, whatever denomination they're a part of, they said, they're just closing doors left and right. And it's not that people don't need or pursue their own individual spirituality. I think that that's not something that will ever, human beings are incredibly spiritual animals, whether they know it or not. And so what's happening is not so much that they're becoming unspiritual, it's that the message is old and tired, that you were born a sinner, and everything you do is a sin, and all these patterns of control. People are becoming wise to it. They're tired of it. They don't sense in some part of their core being that this is even true. And so, so I think timing wise, what we offer just happens to be it's kind of a lamp in the darkness,
Right. And one of the things I really love about the practice, it gives you the ability to start to develop that authenticity, both how you feel inside, who you are inside, and also how you deal with others. And so it's so valuable because you become much more committed to being honest in all your relationships. That also allows you to have a podcast and not have to do very much prep work, because you just get on and be honest and see where it goes. And that fits, I think, both of us, but me for sure. So here's trap question number 2.
Yay.
Are we seeing kind of the spiritual equivalent of manifest destiny right now, at least in the United States? Are people starting to seize control a little bit of their own spirituality, or is it just more a reflection of the times? I don't know. Maybe that's the same thing, but.
Well, I think it's the push and the pull of it, right? There is, in many ways, we'll just call them legacy religions, are pushing people away because they are creating division and separation within their curriculum and their dogma and whatever it is that they're teaching. They're saying, oh no, if you're, LGBTQ, you can't be a part of this, or if whatever, right? Whatever the division, the separation is. So there's the push of it. So they're pushing people away because people are just going, I'm not buying this anymore. I mean, why are we hating anyone? Whether it's liberals, conservatives, LGBTQ, people of color. I mean, why are we hating anyone? That doesn't feel good.
Right.
So they're pushing people away. And then the pull of it is honestly, Whit, I think I don't know if the manifest destiny idea or concept is what comes up for me, but evolution comes up for me. I think that, and if you have ever read any of the works by Dr. Claire Graves on spiral dynamics, I think that our consciousness is evolving and we're becoming aware that we are aware, which happens to be Buddhism. And so we're kind of falling into this. There's a timing thing here, and this push and pull are, I think, naturally evolutionary.
Okay. Man, I couldn't trap you on either one of those. Thank you very much, Steph, for sharing that. So you gave a very insightful Dharma talk last week, as you are known to do. And I wanted to return to the lesson and just drill down a little bit on some of the key points.
Right on.
So the title of the talk is Mining Our Most Valuable and Misunderstood Resource, and it can be found on the Temple Buddhist Center YouTube channel, along with, I think, all the other Dharma talks, certainly most of them. So here's what I was hoping you could do. Can you explain a little bit about the title and maybe let us know, I hate to give away the magic trick, but what is the resource?
So in choosing this title, I mean, obviously for me, the Dharma talks come from a number of different sources. Number one, whatever is going to be discussed comes from a couple of different sources. For example, because I talk with members of the Sangha every day, every week, I am able to keep my finger on the pulse of the Sangha. And therefore, that oftentimes dictates what we're going to talk about. Because if everybody that I'm talking with during the week, whether it's a counseling or just coffee or a class or a Sangha or a group of some sort, if I'm getting the same message from multitudes of people, I'm kind of going, okay, well, the search is over. Why look anywhere else? I don't need to intellectualize or conceptualize the topic. It's been given to me. And if that doesn't happen, like let's say it's just everybody's talking about different things, then the source will be something that happens to Victor. Or like I always like to say, the form we all call Victor has an experience. And if that experience, had a profound impact on me, as almost all do, especially when you see every experience as the Dharma unfolding in front of you, then I can talk about that. Again, it was given to me. I don't have to seek it out. And so first and foremost, there's that, right? So because of the tumultuous amount of change, the intensity of the change that's going on in our world right now, emotions are running high. So then the next step is I knew that I wanted to talk about emotions because that's what people are really kind of bombarding me with. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, everything's going to hell in a handbasket. And so emotions are running very high. So I wanted to talk about emotions. I knew that. And then my next step is to consult my library. I have a pretty extensive library over the years. Books have been gifted to me, or my teachers suggested one, or I just saw the stuff on it. So I consult my library. I'll do a little bit of research on the internet. I'll gather some things as well as my own experiences, and my own knowledge of various teachings, and then kind of piecemeal together the Dharma talk, and then even that gets piecemealed out in the presentation. Like I'll say something from my notes, but then that triggers a memory or a story, and then I'll go off on that. The key is to not tangentialize so much that we're there for the next 4 days, because I can do that.
Right. It's
I am
it's a bit of
fully
a superpower.
That's one of my superpowers. I can talk nonstop for 4 days. So that's kind of where all of this came from. Was really a very large amount of variables and factors that all pool together to create the Sunday Dharma talk.
Okay, so with that process, and in this talk in particular, you were talking a little bit about, and I'm going to paraphrase poorly here, but basically about using emotions as that tool, that hidden resource that you can mine for clarity, insight. Do you want to touch on that briefly, or what's the best way to move with that hidden treasure?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I like the way that you used hidden treasure, because that's really the essence under the word mining. I actually went through a couple different, as I was preparing the title, I was like, revealing our hidden, analyzing, none of those worked. But mining really, it's like, yes, because mining implies, number one, it's kind of hard work, isn't it? I mean, mining is never, in any culture, has never been easy. Maybe it's easier now if we have robots, but I mean, I think the robots are even doing hard work. But then when we get to the treasure, the jewel, whatever it is that we're mining, all of a sudden the kid gloves come on, right? And we nurture and we take care of the crystal or the diamond or the ruby or whatever. And Buddhism often uses jewels as a metaphor within it, not from a materialistic standpoint, but just because of the preciousness of the teaching. And so mining was really the right word. And because there's work involved, but there's also loving, nurturing kindness towards what it is that you're mining. And then finally, the bottom line, Whit, is we can have all these schools of Buddhism, we can have all these teachings, all these great masters, but in the end, your teacher is your everyday experience. Life and experience is your teacher. Experience is your teacher, and your life is your practice. It's not something you can download off the internet for $14.95 and it's a 6-week course. That's not the practice. Eckhart Tolle likes to say, more important than picking up this book and reading it is setting it down. And right there is a deep teaching that our life is our practice. So when we have an experience of an emotion, and I'm going to use one of the unpleasant emotions, like let's say resentment, when we notice that resentments are building up in our mind-body orbit, then they don't feel good and they begin to shape our thoughts. And then we get angrier and angrier until it explodes. And then we say or do something that causes a lot of suffering for ourselves and the ones that we love. And that's not wrong. It's not bad. It is what it is. And when I say that, I don't mean to blow it off. What I'm saying is that it is an experience. It is part of your life. It's part of who you are. And it's a very valuable part of your practice if we could only bring awareness to it.
Well, that's an excellent example. My question is, let's say we're working with anger. Let's say anger is the thing. And you're going through all those checkpoints, just like you named off. You're getting more angry. You're contemplating how to react. You're starting to spin out with stories in your head. what do you tell somebody if they're going through that and they're having a hard time? I don't want to say stopping it, because I get it's a process, but usually or sometimes as you develop a practice, you develop more space and you develop the skills to deal with those emotions. I think that's true. I think that's, later in the talk, we'll probably get there. But I also think that we all have certain challenges that are more painful for us. It's not, at least for me, it's not, I can handle every emotion or every experience. I'm pretty good at 70% of them. 20% I'm working on, and 10% are still really painful. So when you're dealing with those 10% that are kind of maybe beyond you, any suggestions or advice on maybe how to at least limit the suffering?
Yes, absolutely. And, Buddhism provides such a clear and simple pathway for this. And I know that, unfortunately, here in America, what we do is we take a good idea and we explode and exploit it so much that very quickly it becomes so common that it loses its deeper truth, its deeper meaning. It's in the same way that somebody writes a really good song and then they all play it all day, every day, that within a week, people are sick of it. It's that same kind of over bludgeoning that we tend to do here in the West. And so what I was going to say is the pathway is simple and it's clear, and that is our meditation and our mindfulness practice. And here's why. Because what we're doing is we're working with the smaller episodes. We're working with the daily, just the little aggravations as we go through the day. But this is why we call it a practice. This practice of working with the little ones is preparing us for that 10% you were talking about. So as we learn to let the little insults and the little assaults and things go, just slide right off. Somebody makes a snide comment and we don't react, because our practice in sitting on the cushion is we're replaying. Our minds are always going, right? So we're replaying events. Thoughts are coming up. And with those thoughts come emotions, or sometimes vice versa. Maybe you've got an energy or an emotion that's stuck, and that will in turn generate some thoughts and some thinking about it. And then, but when we're sitting and we're watching this phenomena go by without any, it's what we call bare attention, without any commentary, judgment, or decision making, then that's practice. That's preparing us for when something kind of big happens. Now, you and I, we say big, and I understand that different things have more kind of a gravitas to them than others. Losing your glasses is not as bad as losing your job. And so therefore we assign this gravitas to it. But yet within the practice, it's not. The practice breaks everything down into the 8 worldly concerns. Gain and loss. Yeah, you're going to get stuff and you're going to lose stuff. And it doesn't really say that losing one thing is harder, worse, bigger, more catastrophic than the other. Gain and loss is always happening. Praise and blame, fame and insignificance, and pain and pleasure. Most people are caught up every waking hour within some version of those things. And the practice steps back and says, wait a minute, all these things are constantly going. It's the worldly, it's not the sacred. That's an oversimplification. They actually are sacred, because what's not sacred, right? When you realize the truth of who you are and the sacredness of your being, everything's sacred. But we're trying to use language to explain something here. And language is incredibly limited. At least it is for me. Not so much in the length I can speak, but the preciseness of the articulation is what's lacking for me. So to get back to your question now, and that is, we practice every day as much as we can, with all the little comings and goings and fame and insignificance and the pains and the pleasures and the gain and the loss, so that when something much larger shows up, we kind of have those pathways already built. We're like, I got this. I can handle the loss and I can handle the pain, because I know the difference between pain and suffering.
So that was a lot, and I appreciate the sharing. No, it was good. I didn't know. It's too much, Victor. Obviously, we're going to cut you out of this episode. The thing that also really jumped out to me was the practical mining piece, the techniques, the importance of staying committed to your practice. Originally, when I heard your speaking, your lesson rather, what popped up to me was, this just furthers the importance and the scope of meditation or mindfulness, whatever word you want to use there, whatever your practice looks like, because you can never have enough space. You can never have enough awareness. You can never have enough acceptance, because you're not going to run out of experiences until, of course, your time on this plane change.
That's right.
And emotions are never going to, stop coming until, again, you stop being around. So you always need more space, more awareness, more acceptance. But the other thing that you just hit on was also, it's important with the thing that you're mining, the emotion, is to understand that, hey, they're really all the same. Whether you lose your glasses or your job, whatever it is, it seems bigger. You have a tendency to judge it and score it and all that. But really what you need to do with your practice is, so they're kind of going both ways. Your practice needs to be bigger, needs to have more space, always needs more, but also you need to remember with your issues or your emotions or your whatever your problems are, that I don't know that air quotes work very well in an audio podcast, but that still was. So if your problems, you just want to make sure that you don't let them spin out. They don't get to grow with your practice. They should, if anything, get smaller, because you can see, hey, it's the same thing. It's the same, I'm just judging it differently.
Yeah, and there's a little factor in here that maybe as you were sharing there, that kind of came up for me, because I actually have struggled with this idea behind your glasses or your job, right? They and you are correct. They are both a loss. I've lost something here, but with your glasses, the mind will create stories like, oh, okay, well, I'll just get on whatever.com and order me another pair, or maybe I'll tell everybody and it'll show up, it'll find it. So here's all the little stories, right, that we tell ourselves. And then, but for a job, people might have their whole identity wrapped up in their job. I am what I do, and if they have some status at work and they've got some employees and things, all of a sudden the stories are so much bigger. It's like, I suck. In other words, we conflate what we do with who we are. And so now it's not the loss of a job. I'm a nobody. So it's a complete loss of identity. And then here comes all the thoughts about, oh, I'm gonna, not be able to feed myself, all that futuring, which then of course also creates anxiety. So then you get caught in this feedback loop. But one of the other things that kind of came up for me when you mentioned that was, as we work with the practice, we also have the ability, we begin to learn how to reframe, right? Not refrain, but reframe what's happening. So at first it's shock and awe. I've lost my job, right? And then here comes all the stories. But our practice asks us to do a couple things. It says, first, just stop. Stop, sit, feel it, work with it, go into the body, observe, what does loss feel like? And then you're working with it. Now, that might seem elementary, but what you're actually doing is you're staying out of your head. You're in the body. You're working with the actual energy and feeling of loss, and you're not caught up in your thoughts about loss. And then you're caught up, with the thoughts about loss, and it becomes a really a horrible feedback loop. So we do a couple of things. Our practice asks us to stop and just sit with it, be with it as soon as you can. I mean, obviously in the office, when they tell you you're fired, it's probably not the place to do it. But when you finally get home and you've got some time to really bring that into the body, process it, purify it, weep if you need to, maybe you'll create a poem or art or a song or a dance, all the different ways that we express. But then the practice also gives us the tools to reframe this. And what that means is when a big thing happens, or, in our life, I say big thing, there really isn't any big things, but a large event like losing a job happens. There's the initial shock of it. And then what we don't understand, or where we go off the path, is we don't realize that all possibilities still exist. So the possibility that you're going to die in the gutter in the next 2 weeks because you don't have a job, that's one of millions of possibilities. But we collapse down onto the worst one.
Right.
And that's what's called negativity bias, that's the beautiful thing about the Buddhist practice, is that science and Buddhism are finding a tremendous sisterhood in each other, because science is able to prove what is happening when in Buddhism we reframe what is occurring. And science says, oh, this is why the brain collapses down onto only one possibility, because that's the one that's going to kill you or eat you, or, the original, reptilian brain, right? It collapses down onto the worst case scenario.
At the same time, what is the worst possible thing that can happen? I sometimes find that helpful, as weird as that sounds, to extrapolate, just to go and get to that point. And then it kind of shortens the whole story. And it's kind of like an accordion. Let's pull it out as far as we can. Okay, now we've seen that, then it contracts. So I think at the end, one of the things that I got from this talk was just how you can reshape and use these emotions. They become, like you said, a valuable resource instead of something we're shunning, but also gives you a chance to practice equanimity with other people and other organizations, whether they're trying to meet you halfway or whether they're lizard brained and the whole problem is theirs if you want to blame somebody, but you get to you see it their way without knowing their story.
And I want to make one more point about that, and that is some of these emotions can be overwhelming, right? If something occurs and the emotions just flood the body, and then and billions of thoughts and things start occurring because of that, because the brain, mind, body organism is trying to save you, take care of you. It doesn't know the difference between a job loss and a grizzly bear. It's just fear. And so it's okay, and I want our listeners to know that you can be overwhelmed with emotions, and that's why it's important to have community around you. You can call Whit and say, "Oh gosh, Whit, man, I need you to talk me off the ledge here because I am freaking out." It's okay. This can happen at first, and sometimes it takes a little while for the practice to really kick in, because right now you're literally flooded with chemicals and emotions. So it's okay to have that, but have a plan, have a safe place, and that could be a person that you can go to and say, okay, wow, I'm really unregulated, I am unhinged, and I need some help right now. And so that way, so the bottom line is, my point that I'm making is that sometimes it takes a little bit of time for the practice to kick in, especially if you're new. If you're newer at the practice, it's okay to be overwhelmed, but have a plan in place. Someone you can talk to, meditation, just go straight to meditation and allow all that to work through, instead of plotting someone's demise. Just sit. Just sit.
I want to thank you for spending time with us today and for providing such wise and kind counsel to this effort. as you always do. I also want to remind everyone that comments and questions can be sent to us via our email at omontheRangePodcast@gmail.com. You can also use the comments section on Spotify, or you can reach us on Discord. And if you need access to our Discord channel, please email us at omontheRangePodcast@gmail.com. You can also use the comments section on Spotify, or you can go to the Facebook page for Temple Buddhist Center and leave a comment there. Again, thank you, Victor, for being on. I want to wish everyone happy trails and thank them for listening. And be safe, find peace, and we will talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Wib. Bye, everyone.
Thank you to Mr. Tim Behrens for producing this episode. And thank you to Brad Athey for providing the music. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey as we discuss meditation and Western Buddhism and celebrate the path to a happier and healthier life. Less suffering and more joy are available to all people. While we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we react. It just takes practice. Until next time, stay grounded and find peace in the simple, practical solutions. This is Om on the Range, wishing you happy trails.